Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Omolo the Great, and today we are going to talk about the smooth muscle action potential. Remember to subscribe, to share, and like this video. Alright, so what do we need to know about action potential of smooth muscles? One, we need to know about the different types of smooth muscle action potentials. Okay, this is something unique in that the smooth muscle can have several types of action potential which we've not seen with the other muscles. Two, of course, we need to know about the ionic changes. Okay, and then we need to know about the different channels that take place that help to open and close to give us these ionic changes. All right, just like other muscles, there is always the muscle is at rest. So let's see first the types of the action potential in this. We have something called the slow waves. Okay, then we have what we call spike potentials. And also we can have what we call the plateau. So there are some smooth muscles can actually exhibit action potentials with the plateau. All right, so something unique about the resting state of these muscles, for especially the visceral smooth muscles like those of the GIT, they don't have a constant or a stable or static resting membrane potential. It's always described as an undulating, changing, resting membrane potential. And that is why these muscles actually have a smooth muscle tone. Even the blood vessels, you'll observe them, they have sort of a tone. This is exhibited by the non-static resting membrane potential. So the resting membrane potential of these muscles is typically undulating, always changing, okay? This pattern of which is typically exhibited by these that are called the slow waves. So these are actually slow waves, these ones here. These are slow waves, okay? So these slow waves, they are the ones that are constantly undulating and changing, okay? So they move usually from the resting potential of around a straight from around negative 55, negative 50 to negative 60, okay? Which gives that an average of about negative 55 millivolts. So it's never static. So, and usually this, the uniqueness about the resting membrane potential of these channels, especially visceral smooth muscles like those of the GIT, they have an inherent pacemaker, okay, which is called the ICC, okay, the ICC, which we call the interstitial cells of Kajal, okay. So this ICC cells, this man here is actually a Nobel Prize winner in our physiology. He did some studies and discovered actually we have some cells within the within the muscle cell layer of the GIT that gives us this kind of inherent ability to generate impulses or to keep a pacemaker potential. So, and this kind of pattern is established by these the slow waves, okay, as we've talked about. And so these are because the ions that are really involved in this is usually about due to the constant changes, influx of some ions, especially these are the calcium ions, okay, the calcium ions. Calcium ions. You see, this kind of a slight depolarization and repolarization, slight depolarization, repolarization phase, depolarization, repolarization phase, that kind of pattern, okay? So these are the calcium ions that take place, the slow, okay? These channels will always keep having some calcium entering into the cell to give it a depolarization and, okay? So if these slow waves over time as they occur, in presence of a stimulus or an excitation, okay? And so this membrane potential reaches a threshold. Actually, sometimes these slow waves, sometimes they do not, under normal circumstances, you find they are constantly undulating below threshold. Okay, we put something like this. Okay, they usually constantly undulating below what? Below threshold. Okay, but as soon as you get, if you get an excitation, okay, of this membrane potential and it reaches threshold, okay, and this membrane potential reaches this threshold. Okay, this is what we are calling the threshold, the threshold voltage. Okay, so when this membrane potential reaches the threshold in presence of an appropriate stimulus, okay, this then produces some other type of potential, which we call the spike potentials. So these are typically what we call spike potentials. These ones are spike potentials. Okay, so these spike potentials are basically due to the opening of these are the calcium channels. Okay, opening of these calcium channels. So this rapid inflow of calcium ions into the cell causes a rapid drastic change from the electronegativity towards positivity. So there is a rapid depolarization. So these kinds of spikes that occur during this action potential, what we call the spike potentials, are basically due to the influx of these positive calcium ions. All right. So there's another action potential that actually does occur. So also called sort of a plateau potential. Okay. So this plateau potential also, when the membrane potential reaches the threshold, it causes an influx of calcium ions. Okay. It also gives a minimal like picture. The plateau mimics the picture of the cardiac muscle, though it's not so typical because it's very short. Okay. But it's due to the slow opening of these calcium channels and the slow opening and closure of these voltage gated calcium channels. And remember, obviously the repolarization phase, okay, is all due to the voltage gated calcium channels that do what? That open and allow an outflux of calcium ions. So take home from this action potential of the smooth muscle. One, you need to know there are different types of action potentials that can occur. We have this the slow waves, which are typically they give us a picture of the resting membrane potential in the smooth muscle, which is not static, that is constantly undulating. Okay, it's constantly undulating. Okay, undulating resting membrane potential that is exhibited by these slow waves. Okay, followed by the spike potentials. If the membrane potential reaches the threshold in presence of a stimulation, okay, then you can have a spike potential. So as these smooth muscles are constantly at constantly having this resting membrane state, which is non-constant or non-static, okay, so they're having this tone, okay, this smooth muscle tone that is exhibited when you stimulate them, so they're able to contract, okay. And for example, in smooth muscles, that constant undulating resting membrane potential is exhibited by the presence of the ICC cells, with the interstitial cells of Kajal, okay. And so when the membrane is stimulated, presence the appropriate stimulus that raises the potential to the threshold, that causes a rapid depolarization phases, which are characteristically called spike potentials, which eventually will repolarize by the presence or opening of voltage gated potassium channels, just like we talked about in the other action potentials. Peculiarly, some rare smooth muscle cells can actually also exhibit a plateau, or what we call the plateau potentials. All right, thank you so much for watching. This was about the smooth muscle action potential. Remember to subscribe, to share, like this video. Thank you. We'll meet next time.